3, 2.
Yo, what's up guys? Shindig here. This is a Floodgate run that we did a few days ago. And I want to make a video talking about it because I think the route specifically that we use is very unique and pretty cool. So I also get a bunch of like early stutters at the beginning of this dungeon here. Not really sure why that was, but kind of weird. Just bear with me. So first what we do is like very standard, so I won't go into too much detail, but I do want to provide some context. So at the time of us doing this run, a lot of us had recently seen a Teddles video, shout out Teddles, where he kind of looked into the rank 1 Floodgate key at the time, or the World First 17, which was done by a Chinese team, kind of broke down their routes. And one thing that they use in their route is they basically chose, they did a similar first pull, but after this pull, they pretty much avoided as many Shreddinators and Bloodwarpers as possible. And tried to pull super big, which I think worked well for their comp, right? They were running Unholy DK, Balanced Druid, and Fire Mage. All of these classes having big uncapped AoE and not necessarily needing like a proud target to hit off of. But I'm going to pause the video here because that, with our comp, is not true. We have Unholy DK, we have Ellie Shaman, which basically have a similar damage profile. To the best of my understanding, at least, I don't really know. I'm not super familiar with these classes. But what I am familiar with is Assassination Rogue, where Assassination Rogue also has very good uncapped AoE, but you kind of need a high health mob to funnel into, right? You have insanely good prio as Assassination Rogue, and a lot of your damage is you're pouring your damage into one target, and then that damage splashes to nearby things. So if there's a high health mob in the pool, you're not really utilizing the Assassination Rogue damage profile. And so what we ended up cooking up was a route where we try to play more of these high health mobs, and we created this route that you see here. So first variation, we're actually going to go the Shreddinator and Trickster pack that we skip heading into this first pull. We're going to turn around, we're actually going to play it. Now, our tank is off screen here. He's top right, just behind my buffs. There's a pack of 4 hyenas up top here. He's going to pull 3 of them. One thing we learned doing this pull, we originally had all 4 of them in the route. One of the hyenas is like super weird and doesn't come with the rest of the pack. In fact, actually only 2 of them came in this case, so I think we have to play an extra crab bomb later on. Our tank goes, fetches the hyenas, Shreddinator, snipers. There's a pack of 4 soldiers and 2 more hyenas. To the right over here. And we play this as one pull. Now this seems pretty scary, but the trickster or the snipers were nerfed. Like I don't know, a week or 2 ago, to the point where as long as we're kicking their casts, right? There's 3 of them in here. We have 3 kicks, actually 4 kicks with our tank. It's not really a big issue. So the only overlapping damage that occurs is when snipes go out, and if you take a tick of the saw on the ground. But in our experience, this was a pretty chill pull to do. So this is basically our like farm back CDs pull. And as I was talking about earlier, we have a high health mob in here for me, the Assassination Rogue, to better realize my damage profile. Both in terms of I can do better damage to the other mobs in the pack, but also during this time, I'm doing a lot of prio to the Shreddinator. So for us, having a high health mob in this pull is a very efficient way of getting count because of how much damage specifically the Assassination Rogue does to that one mob. Alright, next difference. So a lot of groups go down to the Architect. Well, a lot of groups wouldn't do that second pull, first off. You would go down to the Architect. We're instead going to run up this Waterfall, and there are 2 packs of 4 hyenas up top here. We're going to pull these into the Bloodwarper. The Bloodwarper is a lot of count. And so we're going to commit lots of our personals and defensives here. I think it's a personal for the first Bloodwarp cast. I know I cloak. DK presses AMS. Shaman presses their wall. And we go into this pack, and same idea, right? We have 2 minutes, so we're going to nuke this Bloodwarper. I believe it dies before the second Bloodwarp cast, while we AoE down the rest of the hyenas. Now, it is worth mentioning, the hyenas do have a cast, which causes their melee attacks to heal. And in the route that the Chinese team did, they actually also played several of these hyenas, although in a different pull order. But one of the issues, I think, with their route when compared to ours is that the fact that these hyenas heal and they aren't the highest health mob in the pull means that their pull is effectively slowed down each time one of these casts goes through. But in our case, because we have a high health mob in the pack, like this should essentially always be the last thing to die. So we're not super concerned with these heals going through because they will still die quicker than this Blood Warper, right? But because this Blood Warper is so efficient in count and for the Assassination Rogue damage profile, it makes sense for us to pull and play it. And so as long as we live the first Blood Warp cast, this pull ends up being pretty chill. The second here is going to go out, but we kill it before it becomes really that difficult. Now we did trade out a Paints Up for our tank here, I believe during the gather. Maybe you could go back and confirm that. But the one thing I will say, as like a DPS player, this route that we're doing is pretty chill. Like I'm not super scared of dying. It is pretty hard in your tank. So the pull we're going to do next here is going to be the Inspectors, Soldiers into a bunch of stuff up top here. Like this entire platform, plus the loader bots ahead. I distract this Demolitionist. If you distract, imprison, sap the Demolitionist, the rest of the pack stops moving, so that can sometimes be helpful if you're worried about butt pulling here. But here we go, we get the loader bots coming down in. There's two important kicks here in the snipers. As a melee, I mean, loader bots can be a little bit scary, but we try to rotate out stuns and stops. I just realized I muted the VOD while that is happening. But you just kind of cut it out. And again, this is like a farm back or cooldown pull so that we can then go into the boss. This is another instance of a pull where it's kind of scary for the tank. I think we trade out another Paints Up here, either during the gather or just recently. The challenging point of routing like this is your tank survival. So if you can keep your tank alive, these pulls are very efficient. Now, in the case of this pull, there isn't really a high health prime mob, but that's not super important when I'm not outside of my cooldowns. As you can see, we're still topping damage this pull. And the fact that it is uncapped and it's a huge pull, this is a very efficient way to gain count. Okay, moving on. We're going to play the first boss here. We're going to play the first boss. Our priest actually runs up the ramp, and they're going to grab... There's a set of 2 soldiers on this upper section here, and if your priest pulls them at a specific angle, they actually run down this side of the ramp, and they don't aggro the 2 inspectors that are also up here. These inspectors are a little bit more annoying to deal with, so we just play the soldiers in this case. Otherwise, it's just... nothing particularly special about this fight, so I'm going to fast forward here. We are going to chain in the 2 contractors as well. These guys are over to like the bottom of my screen here, a little bit off screen. Our tank pulls them in, and as we're doing this, specifically he pulls them in after we already dealt with the first set of soldiers. Well, they're just free count this fight. So play those in, finish off the rest of Big Mama. Might be up for and next cool part of our route, which this was adopted from what the Chinese team did, is our priest is going to go trigger the weapon stockpile up top here at a specific pixel so that they don't aggro this Blood Warper. Now it did take some practice for us to get this right, and to be fair, we're probably not as fast as we could be at it. And while like that mob, the Blood Warper, as I was talking about earlier, is good for my damage profile, that specific Blood Warper kind of sucks because there isn't a whole lot you can play into it. And right, like we pulled, I think 4 mobs into the boss, and it's just more efficient to play them into the boss there. So if we can skip that, that's really good. We go up top here. This is a pretty standard pull. I'm going to skip through this here. Okay, so here's the next part of what of our route that's pretty cool. So a lot of people, once you come up here, you've already dealt with all the trash on this side of the room, so you're going to go across the lake here. We have not yet dealt with the stockpile, just where I'm circling my mouse on screen here. So we need to go deal with this. Now, one thing with this pull that really, really sucks as a melee is dealing with the loader bots plus the architect. So with the way we have our route mapped out, we actually don't play these loader bots. if you get rooted when the loader bots are spinning and you don't have a stop, I mean, you're basically just dead. So we instead do a gather around the ring here, around this like electrified puddle. We pick up a few of the bombshell crowds. I think we're supposed to play 2 in this pool, but I think we grabbed an extra because we missed some highness at the beginning. And then we play this into the architect and take this pack out. So this, because there's no loader box in here, this pool ends up being pretty chill. There's 2 important kicks in the surveyors. The hyenas also cast their heal on themselves, but again, that's not super important. In this case, it's because there's an architect in the pool. The architect will be the last mob to die, so you're not super important or super concerned over heals that go off. And ideally, as a prio damaging target, I should swap to the architect and hit it, which I think I do. Yeah, I do. Anyways, we go through the rest of this pool. Architect dies a little bit slow here. Again, I should have been hitting this from the get-go. But we're going to kill this guy off and then go past to the next sort of land area here. Now, this is another point of difference from what we do versus what a lot of other groups do. A lot of other groups will take some divers or some mobs, maybe some of these bombshell crabs that we had just pulled, and bring them over to this architect back here. But we kind of, our understanding was that architects are like really, really slow. They're really awkward. While, I mean, me as the prio damage class in this group, I have the potential to do a lot of damage to architects. It's really awkward swapping back and forth between them as assassination rogue. So they're not super efficient, like unlike the Shreddinators, unlike the Blood Warpers, where I can just stay on that mob the entire time. So we're actually going to skip this architect. And the way we do is pretty cool. So you need a DH, I believe, because they have the ability to double jump up to this platform. And if you get on a passenger mount at a specific angle, the rest of your group can leap and mount on that vehicle. And so they're going to do that twice. Once get up to this platform and once get up here. Now it is important, you do need to CC this mob. So in this case, we imprison it. Otherwise, it'll aggro. I just shadow step up top here because I'm a rogue. And then we're going to skip these 2 Shreddinators. Now, playing 1 Shreddinator is good because me, as the prio dealing DPS, right, I hit off the 1. But the fact that there's 2 in this pool makes it like not efficient and slow. So we also skip these guys. And the way we skip this is our priest fades past, BDH leaps up, I shadow step, and we grip the rest of the people up top on a passenger vehicle into the second boss here. So I do want to go back a little bit. This skip, it's like cool tech. I'm not necessarily sure it's quicker. And the skip, we started at like 12:45. We pull the boss at like 30 seconds later. So, that is time we could be spending hitting other mobs. But for reasons I'll get to after this boss, we decided to end up doing it. Now, I'm going to skip through this boss because, nothing really notable here. All right. Boss dead. How do we get out? 2 ways. If you have slow fall, you can just kind of like leap out to the middle, right? You're over everything's, you leap over all of these mobs' detection radius. Or you just kind of run out the way you came in. So I'm going to do that there.
Yeah, you literally just go flying on VDH, bro. Let me know when you guys get here.
Okay, so at this point, we have 2 more pulls before the boss. But we need to kill these disturbed Kelps to be able to trigger the boss RP, so we're going to go there first. And here, we're going to play some more bombshell crabs to make up the missing count we need into these Kelps. This pull is not too crazy. All we're going to do here is... stop these mobs when they start spinning and kick as many their heals as we can. These divers do pat pretty close. We don't want them yet, though. So the Mindsuit here was good. Let's skip through this. Okay, now our priest is going to go start the RP. So they're going to run down. And our tank is going to gather every single diver that is currently still alive, which we haven't killed any at this point, so there should be 8, I believe. These mobs are completely free if you have enough kicks. Now, the way they work is only one of them can queue up their harpoon cast at a time. So if you just establish a kick order and, you know, you alternate who kicks, you'll never have to worry about any of these going off. So
It's still me.
I start calling kicks here, and then we rotate through these kicks. You are going to have to change your target and, like, mouse over and click which target you're clicking. But it's not too difficult. So we're going to slowly play these, cutting them back as they spawn their bombs. Now, the reason we play a second pull here is because we have to wait for the boss RP regardless. A lot of teams will play this before going into the second boss, which means they kill the distorted Kelps and then just sit AFK for like 30 seconds, right? We don't really want to do that, so that's why we left these until now, right? You can see the active boss timer here, so that we're like spending less time standing around not doing anything. Again, the skip we did earlier did require some downtime, so there is some trade-off there, but that was the idea behind it. Trying to kill off these divers and go into the boss. At this point, we're like a minute faster than our best split. Our tank almost dies on pull. W.
I'm good.
And the rest of the boss plays itself out. Nothing too crazy here, just gonna skip through it. Also worth noting, we are playing for 4 lusts in this dungeon. We lusted first pool. Second lust, we sent on the 1 architect pack we've done so far. That's just when it came up. And we lust on cooldown on Swamp Face here.
Try skip.
Yeah, I need
Shad
to
water
get
blocking.
in now.
Yeah, wait.
Then upcoming here, we have like the last major skip that we decided to pull off. So there's a couple different ways you can skip bubbles. You can have your VDH pull it, meld, and then run past. But the window to do that correctly is kind of tight. Because if you take too long, bubbles will cast its backwash ability, which has like infinite range and will just wipe your group. So we end up doing a different skip, which is specifically enabled because of the comp we run, where we have water walking. I mean, we also have Pass the Frost, so either or. And I'm going to Shroud. We're going to leap up to this ledge here on this fence, Shroud, and just walk past this guy. Now, you do want to make sure you hug left, otherwise you might butt pull him. You can butt pull the mini boss from down below here. And we're going to play everything up top here. So, Jumpstarter, this Electrician Inspector Pact, and all these mobs here. This pull can be pretty scary. Your tank will probably want to paint up on pull. We don't have one, so they might be a little bit spooked. Definitely calm kicks ahead of time, though. We don't do that, and it ends up being a little bit sketchy for us.
Interrupt.
You watch Star with me? I just kicked.
But anyways, we're going to play this pull. And at this point, we need 2 more pulls before we can go to the boss.
Alright, chill pull.
Now, architects are slower mobs to play here, but the trash that they set in this dungeon, a lot of it is like pretty nasty. So what we're actually going to do is play this patrol into this end pack here, which playing this pact was inspired by the Chinese team, but we don't play the electricians because they're spooky and we can't really play all 4 of them at the same time. So we're just going to take these 2 into this pack, assign 2 kicks per target, and then blow up the architect whenever he comes down.
Interrupt.
I'm out of stock.
This game.
And we do a decent job with that. At least we kill it before the second scaffolding cast.
This scaffolding back.
And at this point, this is all the count we need. So we skip these 2 electricians, we skip the inspectors on either side here, and we're going to skip this Jumpstarter plus 2 electrician pack up top here. This skip isn't particularly special. We're just going to mind see them run past it. We end up butt pulling it here, and this is where we have our full wipe, which is, you know, kind of sucks. We're not sure what it is. Or, well, I mean, the hypothesis is that because I'm in stealth, I aggro the Jumpstarter mob. True Sight mobs have this weird property, I believe, where they have a larger detection radius on stealth creatures. Don't know whether that's true, but we're going to end up aggroing this thing right now. And we're gonna farm a bunch of deaths here.
Can we die?
Only the strongest survive.
We have.
I'm good. Nope. Dude, there's no way, bro.
You're-
I'll be right with you. I'll be right with you.
So yeah, we lose a lot of people here. Luckily, our tank lives somehow with meld or something, so they're able to be-res our healer and then
we still win.
res the rest of our team. And we are barely gonna have enough time to finish the key,
Which
but
kind of sucks. But
I think that showcases this route in particular and how viable it may be, in the sense that we can afford to have a full wipe and still time a 16 floodgate. But we're gonna play the rest of these 2 jump starters, and I mean the rest of this key isn't super notable. Last boss, healer check, right? I'll skip ahead to the end of the fight. It was very close. But luckily we were able to get our last lust in just before the timer. You see it comes up here in about 5 seconds. 50 seconds left on the timer. The Shaman and I are holding cooldowns for it. Press it. And we are just barely going to be able to finish this guy off within the key timer.
7 seconds live.
That's going to do it. So yeah, super unique routing. It was, I don't usually like mess with routes at all. I'm just kind of press W. I'll do whatever my team suggests. But this was a pretty cool thing because I haven't seen anybody else run this. Very unique pathing. I think again the strength of this routing is like if you have a prio damaging class, they won't be in shambles, right? Most of the pulls in here have some high health mob you can work off of, and then utilize that count to your advantage to then route around, right? So pretty cool. I thought I'd share that with you guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.